welcome to the Geeking Poetic podcast channel.
On this channel, we have shows and segments that contain adult humor,
bad language, dirty jokes,
and other stuff that is strictly for mature audiences only.
So if you're too young or too sensitive for this kind of material, then please do not watch our channel or our videos.
This channel is not for you.
Thanks much.
And now, on with the show! About to fall over. Welcome, everybody, to Geeking Poetic podcast channel. I'm one of your hosts, Larry Roberts. This ghostly figure in white next to me is my co-host and none other than
Megan Guess.
And we are here to talk about, I was going to say Halloween-y stuff, but it doesn't have to be
Not necessarily, no.
just because of Halloween, although it is that time of year. But we're here to do an episode that we haven't done in a while.
No, we sure haven't. This is kind of exciting.
Yeah, we haven't done a real talk in a while. Real geeky talk. For those that have tuned into the channel before, you might recall that we would, not every month, but every now and then, we would do what we called a real talk episode, where we'd talk about stuff that, you know, we'd be covering. Like, say, if one month we were talking a lot about our top 5 favorite, sci-fi alien movies and stuff like that. And then we would end up getting together and talking about real life, or, so-called real life alien stories and experiences, if we had any, and all that kind of stuff. And we are doing that this month because it's Halloween time. We're talking this month about ghosts. We decided we were going to specifically talk about ghosts.
It can't get much more personal than this episode.
Yeah, this episode is going to be really personal because you may notice, for people that are familiar with Geeking Poetic, that there's only 2 of us and not 3 of us. Vito couldn't be here. It probably kind of worked out anyway, because when I was talking to him about this earlier, he was like, yeah, I don't really know how much I'd have to say about this and stuff. I don't think he's had that much experience with this. But what we are going to talk about is our real talk of ghost encounters or paranormal encounters, or
just stuff we can't explain.
And that's exactly it. It's totally stuff we can't explain. And I before we even get into it, I kind of want to just put this out there, because I'm sure there's going to be people that are watching or listening to us right now that are going to roll their eyes. That's
fine. Roll them.
That's totally fine, because I just have to say, speaking for myself, I don't really know what I believe. I'm not one of those kind of people that's like, oh yeah, there's definitely ghosts and there's definitely other dimensions of existence and blah, blah, blah. I'm not saying at all that there is, because I don't have any, definitive proof that there is. But there's no definitive proof that there isn't either.
Right.
And you and I both, me more in the past tense and you in the more present tense, have had some experience with, seeing and feeling and just being around stuff like that we just really, really couldn't explain.
Yeah, I've racked my brain trying to figure out, but I just don't know what it was.
Yeah.
So.
And yeah, and again, I mean, obviously people are going to be like, oh yeah, sure. But, me vouching for you, you're a very you're a straight shooter. You're not
drama in me.
No, you're not a dramatic person, and you're not the kind of person to bullshit and exaggerate and stuff like that. You're not. Yeah, and you're also you're pretty adventurous. I'm far more
He's always like, I can't believe you're doing that. Don't do that.
Yeah.
I'm going to go jump off this cliff now.
Yeah, exactly. You are that kind of person. You're the person that kind of goes in charging, full steam ahead, whereas I'm like, oh, I don't know, this looks creepy, this looks scary, this looks dangerous.
Like, nope, let me in. I'm going for it.
Right, you've always been that way for as long as I've known you. So when I hear about you experiencing things and
Freaking the fuck out.
yeah, and having a completely opposite reaction, it does make me sort of go, oh, wow, okay,
Yeah.
that's pretty messed up. And I was gonna start with my stories and stuff, but I think we'll probably jump back and forth and everything. But
Yeah.
I think since you were bringing it up and we're talking about you, I have a feeling we'd be remiss if we didn't just get right into your story, because people are gonna be like, "What are they
the fuck
talking
is she
about?
talking
What
about?"
happened to Megan?" You know. So yeah, tell the folks at home. So what exactly? How did this all start? What was your experience?
So me and my mom, hi mom, this is all her doing, by the way. Wanted to go. She wanted to go on this ghost tour, but she wanted to do something that was more interactive than just like going on a bus and seeing haunted places. So
Right.
I found this place called Chaos Haunted Adventures. You could actually go do a ghost hunt and use their equipment.
Okay.
To help in the ghost hunt. And I thought, oh, well, that's really cool. I want to use EVPs and EMFs and flares and, all this cool stuff. Like, I'm in, totally in. So we got tickets.
Now, let me interject real quick.
Yes.
Now, prior to doing this, now I know you were saying like, oh, that sounds fun or whatever, but did you really, what was your thought process on whether those things actually worked or not? Like, what?
So I went into this whole thing very skeptical.
Right.
Okay, because again, all this equipment and everything like that, it could be rigged and somehow,
Sure.
You
don't know what it's doing,
pre-recorded AVPs and
Right.
or spirit box that randomly say things and just
Right.
maybe they can happen to answer your question if you ask the same questions over
Right.
and over. So I was skeptical.
Okay.
I did not expect me to be the instrument.
Okay, explain.
So at one point,
Now, where were you at?
we went to the Crown Point in Indiana. We went to the old jail. So not the main square old jail underneath the courthouse, but the one that's just off the square.
Okay.
The old courthouse from the 1800s.
Oh, okay.
Okay. And I think they said they shut it down in the 70s.
Okay.
So that's last time. And it was way overcrowded. I think they said like there was 800 prisoners in there when it shut down in this place. I mean, it was big, but there wasn't 800 cells in this place.
Right.
So it was way overcrowded.
Okay.
And like Al Capone's henchmen were there. We went into we kept calling him Frank. I don't think his name was actually Frank. I think we misheard that. But we kept trying to talk to Frank. We tried to talk to him because our house is supposed to have a link to Al Capone.
Your parents' house.
My
and
parents'
stuff,
house, yeah. So we're like, oh, we want to talk to Frank, maybe, Of course, he never came out. And then we went to John Dillinger's cell and everything. That was pretty cool. And we went where they filmed Public Enemies with Johnny
Right,
Depp.
right.
The film set was in this jail.
That's
On
cool.
the one of the floors, and so we went there where they had kind of refinished it, and we kind of did a spirit box EVP sessions in there.
So I
So it
mean,
was really
even
cool.
even if you didn't encounter anything,
It was cool
It
just to
still
go
was just
into the
cool.
old jail,
Right.
And we just kind of they took us to a floor, and we got to walk around wherever we wanted in there. It was a really cool experience.
that sounds like
historically.
a lot of fun. Yeah.
So, and using the equipment, it was just cool. If it worked or not, don't care. It was just cool to get
You
to
were
use
just
it.
playing around.
Yeah, we were just having fun.
Right.
Enjoying a night out with my mom from
Right.
midnight to 4 a.m.
Yeah. it
You don't
was
get to
pretty
do that
late.
very often.
No.
Yeah, so it was really cool. So we went there. We met this group of people. They split us into groups. And occasionally he'd say, oh, well, you have better luck being encountered if there's like 2 of you.
Okay.
So every time he'd say, well, who wants to go off into this other place by themselves? My mom was like, I do. I was like, son of a gun. Guess who that includes? Me.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, stop doing that, Mom. Especially because my first time going by myself like that, I had an encounter.
Okay. Well, why don't you get into that?
To that one. You want to
Yeah.
do that one first?
Yeah. Let's do that one first.
Okay. So we went into this room. I think they called it a swamp room because they're decorating for Halloween.
Okay.
And I guess this is the swamp room for Halloween. It's going to be a haunted house. So we go in there and as he's taking us in there, he's like, they're kind of this bit, like getting all worked up just thinking about it. I'm sorry. So as we're walking there, he says, we've started having a lot of activity in this room for some reason, and they're kind of worried people aren't going to want to go in this room to work to set this room up. There's that much activity. I was like, oh, okay. So me and my mom go in this room. It's pitch black. Can't see nothing.
Anyone in here? Anyone want to talk to us?
Yeah, it's way colder in here. Turning in circles.
Oh, wow.
Oh, was it was it way colder?
It's dropped a few degrees just as we've been in
Has it? Somebody here with us? Yeah, come on, come out.
here. There's another cell over here.
Is there?
Come here.
Creepy hands.
Sorry.
Okay.
Okay.
We're in there a little bit, and my mom goes kind of peeks around, and she goes, oh, there's another room back here. So we kind of go back there, putz around a little bit. And I was like, well, I'm not really seeing anything here. So I go to turn around and go back to the first room. And as soon as I walked in that room, the hairs on my arm stood on end.
Okay.
So I got video, and I comment on it. I was like, this room, I don't know, it feels different than what it felt like when I first came into it.
Okay.
It was different than the first time. Yeah, it feels different in here. When I walked in here, like my hair on my arm stood on end. Are you in here with me?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. It's so dark I can't even see.
Oh, I'm over here.
Yeah, it's like the second I walked in here, I feel very dread and doomy.
Really?
Yeah. And then I started, because I was walking towards the door to get out, and I kind of started feeling like a presence on my side here. Mm-hmm. Like somebody was standing there looking at me. So I kind of look at the wall, and then I look at the doorway, and I go to move forward, and I instantly feel dread.
Okay.
And like extreme sadness. Like I can't even explain it, but it's extreme. And it's only when I walked in this room. It's like okay.
What?
I don't know, whenever I go to move forward, I want to cry.
What?
I don't know, something's freaked me out. Okay. Oh my God.
I'm right here.
Okay.
All right.
Holy
We're
crap,
good.
that felt weird. It's not doing anything. Yeah, it's not reading anything. I'm telling you, that felt weird. This whenever. I don't feel it now like I did. I don't know. That was a really weird feeling I got. I don't usually freak out like that.
No, you don't.
I've never felt something like that before. And then as I go to step forward and more, I was like, oh my God, I want to cry. I just want to burst into tears. And moments ago, I was laughing with my mom. Because I was saying something. I was like, are you even in here with me? And she's like, yeah, I'm in here. I'm over here. We're like, oh, okay. Because it's so dark, I can't see if you're here with me. Because I said, I felt this present over here, and she was way over here.
So it wasn't like you were already like going into this, or you were at a point where you were feeling kind of creeped out and sad, or
No, we were joking around, having a good time.
Okay.
And, like, don't break anything, you know.
right.
I'm like, are you here with me? Where are you at, Mom? And she's like behind me over here, and like, because I'm looking over here in front of me.
Right.
And like I said, I go to step forward, and I like instantly tear up.
Okay.
Which I could do that, you know. And then I try to step forward again, and my mom said, I don't remember this part, but she says I kind of look down and I start spinning in circles and I start freaking the fuck out.
Yeah,
And she's like, Megan, oh my God, what is wrong? What is wrong? I was like, I don't know. I'm just freaking out. Okay. I don't know what's wrong with me right now. And she like grabs me to stop me from spinning because I'm just spinning. And she's like, it's like you're trying to get away, but you can't go anywhere. You're just stuck in the spinning circles, tight circles. So and then as soon as that, it's done. And we go right back. I was like, will you talk to me? You were obviously here. Where are you? Come back to me. And stuff like that. So if I was really freaked out having a real panic, I would have ran out of the building. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I don't have panic attacks like that.
No, I've never seen you act like that about anything.
No, I don't. Yeah, I'm not big on overreacting like that.
No.
I can in other ways, but not like that.
No comment.
No comment. Hey, wait a minute. So yeah, it was an experience. And then, so we're still in there talking to the guy or whoever it may be. And then our tour guide comes back. He's like, hey ladies, we're going to take a break. You want to come out? He's like, anything happen over here? And I was like, yeah, I kind of had a panic attack. He's like, well, what happened? So I was kind of telling him. He's like, okay, yep. And he kind of kept walking. I was like, So now, if that's what they're talking about people not wanting to work in there, I totally get it, because that was awful. That was an awful feeling I felt.
Yeah.
So if somebody was in that jail and felt that way, that's heartbreaking.
Yeah. Well,
because it didn't feel evil. It felt like I asked them to come talk to me. So they were coming to talk to me, and they didn't want me to leave because they wanted somebody to be there with them because they were so incredibly sad.
or at least that's the impression you
That's
got.
the impression I was given. Yeah. From what I felt.
From what you felt. Yeah. Okay.
So that's what I mean by I was the instrument. I didn't expect me to be the instrument.
Right.
And how do you fake that?
Well, you can fake that. I mean, again, I'm not saying you did, but
well, I could make it up myself.
I see what you're saying.
But
How could somebody
they couldn't
make
fake that to make me freak out like that.
Not that I can really think of. I mean, I don't know if.
I mean, they could freak me out, like maybe makes a presence. I don't know, but I don't know how they can make me feel that dread and then want to instantly burst into tears.
Yeah, I don't know.
Like that, and then have me start spinning. I mean, nobody touched me. I was never touched.
Okay.
And so my mom touched me to stop me from spinning.
Right. So how? Okay. So moving on from there, what happened? Did anything else happen after that?
So we go on our break. We come back. Next floor. He's like, so got another area. You like? Who wants to go by themselves? My mom. Me. What do you want? I was like, I'm still reeling from the last one. Okay, that really fucked with me.
Right.
Because that I just kept going. It's like, that's not me. I don't do that. Even in the video, like, that's not me.
Right.
How did I freak out like that? So we're over there, and me and my mom are, walking around. That's called a day room where the prisoners go during the day to hang out. And just this little room. And me and my mom are in there together. I got my EMF reader. Nothing's going on. So I switch her because she's got the thermometer. And I was like, yeah, it's definitely colder over here. And I check it. It's 66 degrees. Okay. Then my mom kind of wanders off on down the road to the cells and everything. And I'm in there by myself. So I'm in there talking to him and everything. And then all of a sudden I was like, it's like, hello, is somebody here? Because I visibly feel it getting colder.
It's like the same thing that we just saw over there with the day room right there. Yeah.
I got it. Someone's touching me. Hello, anybody here? It's definitely colder over here.
Yeah.
I swear something keeps touching me down the right side of me.
Really?
Like something like... It's weird. Okay, I'll hold this for a while. You got your temperature thing still?
Yeah. Here, I can't hold on to this.
Switch me. Were you over there? It's dropped 6 degrees. I have a 6-degree temperature drop. Hello? Yeah, it suddenly got like extra cold. So I checked the thermometer, and it goes down to 60 degrees.
Okay.
From 60 degrees. And that's what they said with drastic temperature drops like that. There's a presence. So you can hear my voice starts quivering because I'm still freaked out from the last time. Because I mentioned, I was like, I felt you downstairs. I don't feel you now. Come back. And then that happened. And then we go down a little ways, and we end up coming back to that room, and I'm like, you know what? I don't like the cold. Let's not do that again, okay? And I check my thermometer. It goes up to 67.
Okay.
I was like, oh, so you go the opposite direction, okay? And then they brought it back down. It was weird.
That is pretty weird.
Again, could probably be faked, but it was pretty cool.
It could be faked. I mean, so yeah, here's the thing. Like I was saying, I mean, as everybody at home will have heard now, because you can't really see too much, unfortunately.
No, it's pitch black.
But, again, knowing you the way I know you, it's like, yeah, that's really weird for you to just have such an emotional reaction so quickly like that, because you don't really do that.
No. I'm an emotional person, but not outwardly like that.
No, you're not emotional.
I'm not
like
theatrical.
That. No, and you're not that reactionary. If anything, you're usually somebody, who like
you got to drag it out of me.
Right. Yeah, you could be upset about something, and it's like, you have to really drag it out of you. So for you to react like so instantly like that is pretty unusual.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
took me by surprise, that's for sure.
Yeah.
And by mom.
I bet. I mean, so now, did anybody else on the tour, like, experience anything?
There was, just before this, when we were on the other side, there was a couple ladies. One had a REM pod that started going off, which it sits on the ground, and it can, anything gets near it, it goes off.
Okay.
Little lights and stuff go off on it. And there's another one, she had dowsing rods, like we find for water and stuff like that.
Okay.
But you basically find anything with it, and if you take it and they, you hold them apart, and then they cross, that means you found something's there. And at the same exact time that REM pod was going off, her dowsing sticks crossed, and they stayed crossed for a while, and she felt like somebody was touching the back of her head, she said. Right,
yeah. Now, I know you were telling me before, didn't you say that the guides were telling you that the whatever presence is there, they have a tendency...
In that hallway, especially, they love touching women's hair. The back of their heads.
I wonder how they'd feel about my hair.
Right? They're like, ooh.
Ghosts get all mad. They come touch my hair, and they're like, wait a minute, that's a dude. And then they're like, yeah. And then I get possessed, and then it's all bad.
So.
Interesting.
Yeah, I enjoyed the night myself. even with the freakouts and stuff like that. It was a fun experience to me.
But now, so here's another question for you. So after you were done with that and everything, I mean, did you feel any kind of like residual weirdness, or was it just gone?
It was gone.
Yeah.
Yeah, as soon as I was still kind of like I go in the next room, like the 66 degrees where it drops down to 60 and stuff. You can hear my voice. I'm like, hello? I'm kind of worried because I don't know what's going to happen, but I don't feel that presence like I did.
Right, or it didn't seem to have any kind of like lasting
effects on me or anything, no.
Okay.
Like the rest of the night, totally fine. Other than being a little itchy during that 60 degree drop thing.
You felt itchy?
I felt like just on my right side, not my left side. Just my right side. I felt really itchy. I kept scratching. Like, what is itching me? My mom was like, what is wrong with you? He's like, I don't know. Something must be touching me or something. He's like, go touch my mom for a minute, please. Leave me alone.
It's the asbestos ghost.
Something.
It's making you itchy.
But I was fine the rest of the night. Everywhere else we went, totally fine. As soon as we got out of that section, totally fine. So that's weird. If I'm itchy, I'm itchy. I'm just going to stay itchy. I'm not going to stop. But then I noticed later rewatching these videos, because I noticed the temperature drop in that room when it was happening. But when I go back and watch my freak out video, the temperature was the same temperature. It dropped, because remember my mom said it already dropped a few degrees just us coming in here.
Okay.
And she shows it, and it's that same temperature. Like, interesting.
Yeah, and you don't necessarily know if all that equipment's going to work
No.
perfectly. I mean, there is no exact.
Like I said, I
science
went
for
in
that.
real skeptical of the equipment, of the whole kit caboodle, whole shebang.
Yeah.
Didn't know what to expect, just going in for the fun of it. But I did not expect me to inwardly feel something
So
like
what?
that.
So what's your takeaway from this now?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I think I'm still like you, where it's like I don't know what's real, what's not real. I'm still trying to rationale
Yeah.
why I reacted like that.
Right.
It's like, was there a reason? I don't normally do that, but was I freaked out because it was so dark out? Was it so dark in there, but it was pitch black the rest of the night? Why would I freak out
you've
then?
never seemed to care about something like that.
I don't care. Didn't bother me. Because you already yelled. Oops, sorry. Yelling at the moon here. Yelling at my mom to turn off the light because she was shining the light. It's like, Mom, it needs to be dark. Turn the light off.
Right.
So I don't see why it being dark would bother me. I don't know. I can't explain my reaction because that's just not me.
Right.
So, yeah, but what I believe it was or wasn't, I don't know.
You're listening to the Prescribed Films Podcast Network, home to hundreds of hours of free podcast entertainment. The shows on this network all have a common goal, providing you with the best discussions about movies and other forms of entertainment media. The PFPN hopes to fill your earholes with audio joy. Visit our website with links to all the other amazing shows at www.thepfpn.com. Thanks for listening.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of how I feel, too, about, like, all this stuff that I've experienced over the years. And, for some people that are listening to this, I apologize if it seems like I'm rehashing things, because I know we've brought up some of this in other episodes, other
Yeah, a little
shows,
bit, but not in
like,
depth.
bits and pieces. But, I mean, so real quick, getting into my thing. So I still live in the same house that I grew up in, and I know everybody's going to get real judgmental about that.
Screw that.
Well, it's, for those that know, I mean, there's a bunch of people that live in this house. It's not just me. There's, relatives, friends. It's a big house, so it makes sense to live here, and
I basically live here half the
yeah,
time.
you pretty much live here at this point.
They've
almost.
adopted me.
But, my dad's gone, and this was, this house reminds me of him a lot, so I have a big connection to this house because of that. But I also think, I don't know, I've always had a really, really strong connection to this house. And, again, people can just be skeptical, but it feels to me like it goes beyond just, like, sentimentality. I don't really know how to explain it. But I just can't explain it. But ever since I was young, there was odd things that happened in this house. And you'll meet no one more skeptical about this than my mother, who's probably listening to this now. She doesn't believe any of this shit. She's never really experienced anything here. She thinks that me and anybody else who's experienced stuff, because let me also preface by saying I'm not the only person that's experienced stuff here. And it's even been experienced by people who had no pre-warning, had heard no stories, didn't know anything, so that you could say, oh, well, they were influenced by what I said or something like that. Yeah, this is a pretty old house. I don't remember the exact year that this house was built, but I know now. I think it's well over 100 years old, and I mean it was fairly
Like
old.
1920s or something.
Yeah,
maybe?
at least maybe if not a little earlier, close to the turn of the century. The Chicago bungalow house, brick bungalow house. But so ever since I was young, there was always odd things that happened to me in this house. I should say, though, it was never anything like malevolent feeling. Kind of like what you were saying about when you were in that cell and you felt really sad. You felt like dread. You felt like presence, but you didn't feel like, oh my God, it's going to get
Hurt me. Yeah.
I've never, knock on wood, I've never felt that in this house. And most people that I know have kind of said the same thing. It's freaked them out, but it didn't like, make them feel like they were in trouble, like they were in danger. Right, exactly. So the first things that started happening when I was younger was that I used to sleepwalk a lot. Now that's not totally uncommon.
Yeah,
for a lot
I
of
slept
kids.
walk.
But I used to have a tendency to sleepwalk. My aunt, who used to watch me, because my parents both worked, and a lot of times they were working nights and everything. They were in the police. Not the band, the police department. But they would often work like 4 to midnight, or sometimes they were working midnight shift and stuff. So my aunt who passed on, unfortunately, when I was pretty young still, used to watch me over here sometimes, and she'd go in to check on me, and I wouldn't be in the room, and she would find me standing at the bottom of the basement stairs, which you can't see in the shot, but
They're right there.
they're right over there. And she would find me there. I was like 3 years old, 4 years old, 5, in that whole range. And I would just be standing there like asleep and crying. Yeah. And she would say, what are you doing? What are you doing down there? And, she'd come get me and everything. But I always had, even when I was awake, like I had no memory. Like I don't even remember. I don't think I even knew back then, or was that conscious of doing that. I knew about it more when it would get brought up as I got
Later.
older, and
Yeah.
my mom or my dad or somebody would bring up about me sleepwalking and doing that, and I was like, really? But when I was young, yeah, I loved this basement because the room we're in now was more like a rec room. Like this is where our stereo was, and the pool table, and the bar, and blah, blah, blah. And especially back in the 70s when I was a kid.
We're on the dance floor.
Yeah, we have even a dance floor here. And when I was a kid, I mean, this was great. It was super cool down here. This was the adult place, and I would play down here sometimes. But I really didn't like being down here alone. Again, not uncommon for a kid, I suppose.
Yeah.
But it was the stairs, especially. There was something about the stairs. I was more bothered about the stairs than I was about being down here. I didn't like the stairs. Even now, I've gone up and down these stairs. Oh God, how many times?
At least 30 times today alone.
Right? Yeah.
Just trying to set
We
up.
were just trying to get set up. I know. I was going up the stairs and down the stairs. But I've been up and down those stairs in my life, tens of thousands of times, I'm sure. But even now, like, there's times, not all the time, but there's certain times where I just feel something as soon as I'm not even just going up the stairs, but even when I'm just at the base of the stairs over there, I feel something. I don't know what it is, although I have an idea. So I dealt with that for a while. And then, of course, another thing that's infamous to anybody that knows me and has listened to me talk about it on past episodes is the statue cat. So the infamous statue cat. Now, the statue cat wasn't downstairs. The statue cat was always kept upstairs. There was a lot of weird things that happened. It was a statue. It was, I don't know. It was probably about a 2-foot tall statue, roughly. Like about the size of a Shogun warrior, if you're or a Godzilla toy. Yeah,
He's probably behind us somewhere.
Yeah, he's probably around here somewhere. It was about that size. It was like a reddish orange color. It was Siamese, and so it wasn't like a cute kitty cat. It was a little weird looking and stuff. But even so, it was just a ceramic statue. For whatever reason, I just had this ominous feeling anytime I was around it. And I was around it all the time because for a long time it was in our living room, then it was in our dining room, and back and forth. Mom would move it around as she moved furniture around the house and stuff. But it got to a point where when I was around 5, I guess, that I wasn't sleepwalking and going downstairs so much. What I was doing was I was sleepwalking and kneeling in front of the statue cat while I was asleep.
That's creepy.
That is creepy. What was creepier, because I have a very clear memory of this, what's creepier is that I would be dreaming about walking through the house, through a dark house, not exactly candlelit looking, but just dark and maybe moonlit or something.
Mm-hmm.
And I would be dreaming about quietly walking, only hearing my breathing, and then walking into the dining room and then seeing the statue cat, and I would just kneel. And I don't know how long in the dream, I have no concept of time, but I would be kneeling and just staring at it, like nervously staring at it, and then in the dream, the eyes would open up, and it would have human eyes. Okay, sorry, you're freaking out. So it would have human eyes looking at me. And I mean, that's a pretty freaky dream. But what made it more fucked up was I would wake up. You know how you do when you're a kid, you have a dream and you, well, you do it now even, I'm sure, as adults. You know? You wake up. So I would wake up, startled awake, and that's, so I had this fucked up dream, but then I would startle awake and boom, where was I?
In front of
face
the
to
statue
face
cat.
with the statue cat, trying not to piss my pajamas, literally.
Yeah.
And, I'd be frozen there for moments. I don't know, probably not too long. It probably felt like forever. It was probably 5 seconds. But moments, and then I'd finally get up the nerve, and I'd go run my little ass back into my room, shut the door, pull the blankets over my head, whatever. And eventually I'd fall back asleep. But I did this several times. I mean, like enough that, like I said, how many 40 plus years later I remember it.
Mm-hmm.
And there was other things that happened with that cat. I would have other friends now without me even telling them about that. I would have other friends come over. I didn't have a ton of friends, but I had a few good friends. Like my friend David down the block, who still to this day, and the guy, he's a police, commander and all this. He's a very straight dude, you know what I mean? And even to this day, David's like, fuck that statue cat. There was something not right with that thing, man, I'll tell you. And there were incidents, I told the story before on the show about where me and he and myself and a friend across the alley were all hanging. And by this point, we were considerably older. I was like 9. Yeah, I had to have been about 9 because I remember we were leaping around in the living room, singing along because I had music videos on the TV.
Of course you did.
And I remember the song. It was the music video for Centerfold by Jay Giles Band, And we were singing along, and of course we were getting about that age, 8, 9, 10 years old, and there was all the girls in the video, and we were kind of like, I'm digging these girls in this video a little bit. And we were singing, and that song was brand new, and we were like loving it. And at one point in between videos or whatever, it was like a commercial or something, or I don't know. I think I actually, I think we were just we plopped down on my couch. And it was weird as we were sitting there looking at the TV. There was a commercial, or maybe there was a video on we didn't care for. And like simultaneously at the same time, all three of us were like, hey man, like, do you notice something? And then like one of the other of us was like, yeah, are you talking about the statue? And we're like, yeah. And we all realized, we were like, wasn't that statue originally turned facing into the dining room? Because at this point, the statue was sitting on like an end table kind of thing next to the television set.
Okay.
So if you sat and looked at the TV set, you could see the statue there.
Okay.
It wouldn't necessarily be like in the forefront of your vision if you were looking right at the TV, but in your peripheral, you know what I mean? So we hadn't like been talking about it or paying any fucking attention to it. But we all at the same time were like, wasn't the statue facing into the dining room? Like it was turned away from the TV, and everything. And now it was turned directly towards us. Like it was looking right at us. And all three of us, like without prompting from anybody, wasn't like, hey, that thing's turned. And we're like, yeah, maybe. It was like we all like at the same time had the same realization. Like we just stopped and noticed it because it was so obviously turned, that it was facing right at us. And we freaked out and ran right the fuck out the house.
Yeah, I would too.
And it was in the middle. It wasn't even like it was night and we were freaking out. It was like 1:30 in the afternoon on a sunny afternoon. It was like the summer of 82.
I should have been outside anyway.
Yeah, well, you know me and music videos. I ruined many a summer when I was a kid sitting and watching music videos because, look at me, folks. Kind of dictated my life. So there were like things like that, and there were other instances. We'll be talking about this for hours.
You have so many.
There were so many other instances where other, friends would see things, or they'd say that, my friends often had issues where they didn't like these stairs coming up because we were always down in this basement playing.
I don't like them because they're so damn steep.
Well, yeah, that doesn't help, But there was always some kind of weird vibe that everybody I knew over the years, friends, girlfriends, whomever, like everybody just had weird experiences with those stairs and with this basement, getting to the point where, so now we fast forward, I'm probably about 14, 15 years old, and I'm trying to be Mr. fucking cool guy and shit, like with all my dumbass teenage friends, how they are, right? Especially a bunch of metal guys and everything, and we think that like the paranormal and Satan and hell and blah 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 and Ouija boards and all that.
Oh no.
We think that's all like so cool, right?
Oh no.
And through talking with friends, my friend Steve, Steve introduced me as when we first became friends with these other guys, Tim and John. They were a little bit older. Steve and I were 14, 15 years old. These guys were like around 17, 18. So we thought they were super cool. They had cars and all this stuff. And through talking to them, like Steve was talking about, like, man, I don't remember how it came up. Some came up about talking about Ouija boards and ghosts and spirits and blah, blah, blah. And Steve mentions to these guys and he says, yeah, like Larry's basement's real weird. Like, he's like, I don't know what it is, man, but there's something about that basement. I've been going to Larry's basement for several years now since we became friends. And there's just something weird. Like, I swear there's something down there and everything. And even at that point, I mean, I wasn't like, yeah, guys, my basement's haunted. I've never been that guy. I've never said that. Because I don't necessarily know. I don't know what I believe in with that. Who knows? I don't know. But these guys were like, oh, cool, man. You should invite us over one night because I've got a Ouija board and I read, these books about paranormal stuff. Like, we should go down there and try to, like, do a, not a seance, but, something to that effect. We should do something like that.
This isn't going to end well.
Yeah, okay. So we come down here, literally right where Meg and I are sitting right now. Sorry, Meg. So we came down here. We sat here, and these two, Tim and John, come over, and it's me and Steve, and I don't remember who else. Maybe Milo might have been there. I don't remember, but a bunch of my friends. And we weren't doing drugs, we weren't drinking, we weren't doing anything like that. We were sober, but we were down here, and my mom, I don't know where my dad was, but my mom and dad were both gone for the evening. It was like a Friday evening. Probably right around this time of year. It was like in the fall, I know I was back in school and everything. And so it was dark. It was getting dark. And they're like, all right, like, we're going to down there. Let's turn off like all the lights. We're going to light these candles. We got this Ouija board, blah, blah, blah. And Tim, who was the oldest guy, starts like messing around with it, trying to like talk to it, get it to say things and everything. And honestly, not really much happened. We did see what we all saw it. I mean, I don't know what to believe about this, but we all saw like an orb.
Okay.
Like you see those little orbs. Now, here's the thing about orbs, man. You're sitting there in the dark. You've got some candles lit and everything. You get things on your eye, on your eyeball. You get things. There's all sorts of fucking reasons why you could be seeing orbs. I don't know. So I'm not sitting here being like, guys, I saw an orb, and I don't know. Nothing really, but we all saw it. We all saw this thing. It looked like looking at it like it was about the size of, I don't know, like a little bigger than a golf ball, maybe like a tennis ball size, right?
Oh, that's a big.
Yeah,
okay.
it was pretty big. It was like about that big around, like it fit in your hand.
Okay.
And it was flying around. It was like over there, and it kind of was like doing that and everything. And it was there for several moments, for long enough that we all were like, dude, look at that. Do you see that? Yeah, I think, is that like an orb thing? And and it's like, oh, that's probably just, again, I was the biggest skeptic. I'm like, it's probably something from the light, I'm not. So anyway, so after that, So as that happened, we were like, they were all freaked out, kind of freaked out, mostly laughing, really. We're like, holy fuck, man, like, that's so cool. So I was like, all right, enough of this. Like, let's not mess around with this anymore. And I went and I turned all the lights on. And so, like, they're sitting there kind of being like, oh, Larry, you party pooper, blah, blah, blah. Meanwhile, John, the one older friend of Tim's, is sitting there, and he's kind of like, he's sort of laughing, but he's not like saying much. And then we're all just sitting around talking, for the next couple of minutes, just bullshitting about whatever the fuck stupid teenage boys bullshit about, talking about this. And then all of a sudden, like, one of us, I don't think it was me, maybe it have been Steve, looks at John and is like, hey man, are you okay? And John, like, literally looking at him like, when you say somebody turns sort of like green almost, like, I mean, he wasn't like Hulk green, but I mean, he looked like flushed, like just blue, almost more like blue in the face. Like he was sweating profusely. Like you could see the speeds of sweat come. And he's like, guys, I don't feel so well, man. I don't know what the fuck it is. I don't fucking feel good. And we're like, dude, like, relax. Are you okay? You okay? So finally, he's like, dude, I don't know. I'm going to like pass out or throw up or something. So I bring him over to behind the bar because we have a sink back there. And I'm like, let me get you a cold glass of water. So we go back behind the bar. And as I'm about to like turn on the thing he just bends over and just hurls into the sink. Unfortunately, of all places, the sink, which I had to clean later.
Oh, God.
And he just hurls, and he's just like, he looks woozy and everything. And he was like, I gotta go. I gotta get out of here. I gotta go. I don't want to be here. I gotta go home. Like, and it wasn't like, not the cool guy thing to do. You know what I mean? We were all trying to be cool guys. He was just like, I gotta go. And he drove, actually. So he had a little car and everything. And he was like, I don't think I can even drive. Like, I'm so out of it. And it was shortly after that, we were trying to like calm him down, because he lived like a few miles away. So it wasn't like a quick, easy walk, and he wasn't feeling great. I didn't want to make him walk. So it wasn't too much later, like around 10 o'clock that night, my parents came home, and I went to my mom, and I'm like, hey, look, we're not doing anything weird, but, nothing illegal, you know what I mean? But I'm like, my friend John's here, and he's like really sick. He doesn't think he can drive. So my mom ended up driving him home. He left his car here, and then like the next day, somebody brought him back, and he picked up his car. And by the next day, he was like, yeah, I'm fine, but man, I don't ever want to go do that again. Like, I'm not real crazy about your basement, Lair. So that kind of stuff, like I said, it was all these like little incidents like that happened from when I was a toddler all the way up through, young adulthood and everything. At one point, it was on Christmas Eve, and we were, my family and I were out at relatives celebrating Christmas Eve, while my stepbrother and my soon-to-be stepmother were here at the house and waiting for us to come back. And by the time we got back, I don't know, it was probably like 11 o'clock at night, 11:30 at night, something along those lines. And when we were asking my stepmother how their night went, and she was saying, oh, it was fine, and I sent Kyle to bed. He was aggravating me because he was all worked up about something, and my dad's saying, well, what was Kyle worked up about? And she said, well, he was downstairs at one point. I was up here. He was downstairs, and he was playing in the basement. Next thing I know, he came running up the stairs, freaked out, claimed that he saw some kind of like white round thing floating around down there and everything, and said it was like some ghost and everything. And then he came up the stairs, and he felt like something was coming up the stairs behind him. He was all worked up and freaked out. I went down there. I didn't see nothing, and he's just being a stupid kid because at the time he was about 8 years old.
Okay.
And I was like 18 or something like that. And I was like, well, that's typical, like I've seen that kind of thing, all my life and whatnot. And my mom was there. And my mom's going, oh boy, that's what a bunch of baloney, blah, blah, blah. And then my dad goes, huh? Yeah, that doesn't surprise me at all. Like, yeah, because it's not the first time that things have been seen down there. I know all about it, and I'm kind of like,
What the fuck, dude?
yeah. All of a sudden, I'm like, wait, what, Dad? Like, what are you talking about? He's like, yeah. He's like, yeah, there's definitely some weird stuff downstairs and with this house and everything. And I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, you've never said anything like this. And he goes, yeah, back when we first moved into this house, before I was even born, right?
Mm-hmm.
My dad basically, I mean, this whole basement was kind of like unfinished, really, and my dad built like all these different rooms and all this stuff. He built the laundry room, which is on the opposite end of the basement of the house. And Dad said, he's sitting there telling us, he goes, yeah, when that happened, at least once, I think more than once, he said he was there, he was working on something, and he looked over, and there was like a person standing there. He said there was a guy standing there, but you could see like it was like there was no way he should have been able to like get in there and stuff, get to where it was, because things were all tore up and everything, and there was no, he didn't hear anybody, but he just felt somebody there, and he looked over, and there was a guy standing there, and he said the way it was like he was there, but he wasn't there. So, yeah, I don't know, the way he described it, it's been years now, I don't remember exactly, but it wasn't exactly like a ghost like you see in the movies where he's like translucent or something, but he said there was something about him being there that my dad just knew, like, oh, like this isn't like a normal 3D human being. There was just something about him that felt like, or looked or felt like, I don't remember exactly how he put it, but he said, and I said, where did you see this guy? Where was he standing the time? So he goes, he would be standing about where the equivalency of the bottom of the basement stairs was.
Shut up.
So he was standing there right over there, and that's where my dad always see him. He goes, there have been times I've been down there working on stuff or come up and I feel like a presence, or I've seen things and I've seen like orb kind of things. And yeah, it doesn't surprise me at all. And my mom was like, what? Like, my mom's acting like he's full of shit, because at that point in time, my mom felt my dad was pretty much full of shit about everything, because they were obviously splitting up. But anyway, my mom's saying, yeah, that's come on, that's a bunch of bullshit or whatever. My dad's like, no, that's fine. I know you don't. And I'm saying, why didn't you fucking tell me about this? I've been going on for years about that basement and sleepwalking and standing there at the bottom of the stairs and all these other fucking things. And my dad said, he basically said he just bullshitted me and he ignored me about it, because he's like, I didn't want you to be freaked out. You were always playing in that basement. I mean, the room where Willie lives now used to be like my big playroom, that's where my toy boxes were and all my tables and all my, activity stuff. So my dad said, I didn't want to fucking be like, oh yeah, it's haunted. I saw ghosts down there before you were ever born. He's like, you'd never want to be in there. So I wasn't going to tell you. And he's like, and nothing ever happened to you. You didn't get hurt. I never heard of anything.
Just made me think I was crazy.
Yeah. And my mom was saying, well, why didn't you ever say anything to me? And my dad said, because you
don't believe it
you
anyway.
Don't believe it, because you never seem to believe in that kind of shit. You don't believe me now, do you? And she said, no, not really. And he said, well, there you go. So,
speaking of Willie, he's had all sorts of
and
weird
then
shit happen,
Willie,
right?
yeah, who lives in the house with me and everything, he's had odd things happen because he's down here all the time, and
TV turning itself on and off and changing channels and stuff.
Yeah, he's
Something
told
like
me.
that.
He's told me about things. He's told me about. There have been times where he went to bed and something like, I think he told me the one time, at least once, I think he said there was an alarm clock that he had sitting on top of like a waste can type thing with a lid, and he had an alarm clock up there, and then he'd like get up the next morning or in the middle of the night or whatever, and all of a sudden the alarm clock was sat like somewhere else, but it didn't look like it just like fell over.
Okay.
It was more like somebody had to have picked it up and like sat it down several feet away kind of thing. Yeah, he's had that happen. He's had times where he swears that while he was sleeping he felt like somebody like was touching him and moving, like he's had clothes like fucking different, who knows. And again, all of this stuff, folks, all of this stuff, it's potential that it's bullshit. Not that anybody's lying. I'm not saying my dad was lying or that I'm lying or that Willie was lying or
Just
anything.
all in your heads.
But it could be in your heads, or there could be other explanations for it. There really could be. It's just interesting that in this house, there's always been instances of people, with pretty much the exception of my mother, there's always been instances of people. And it makes me wonder, because I know you've talked about it before. I know Jess and Mom and other people have talked about it before. What's interesting about the things that have happened in this house is it happened to me, it happened to Dad, it happened to Willie, it happened to Danny and David and Steve and John and Kyle and all these people. But my mother never experienced or saw anything. My stepmother never saw and experienced anything. I've had girlfriends and wives and stuff who I think are freaked out, about the house, but I don't know that they've ever experienced anything not like we have, not like the guys have. So it's really interesting to me that it's so gender specific.
Yeah.
You know?
That is kind of weird.
Because you've been in my house. You've stayed here.
I've stayed here by
house
myself many
all
times.
the time, and you've never seen or experienced
Nope.
anything in particular.
Nope, not a thing.
Right. But the guys all have, which is funny because, again, it's kind of counterintuitive because, people often will sit there and say, well, women are more,
Yeah. It's always the guys that think
women
you're
are
full
more
of shit.
sensitive to things like that and stuff like that. And women can get a little more scared about being alone, whereas the guys aren't generally as, they end up being more macho, and guys end up being more closed-minded. Women are more open-minded. Children are more open-minded and all this stuff. But yeah, it's had things happen to both male children and male adults and young adults and stuff. So I don't know. And there's so much more I could get into. There's so many other things that if you want to know more about the statue cat story, because good Lord, there's so much, you'll have to go back and find it in old episodes of our podcast, and
Or reach out to us.
yeah, or reach out if you want to hear more about it. But I don't know how I feel about any of this stuff about ghosts and stuff. Ghosts are fun to talk about. It's fun to think about and everything. It's interesting. Paranormal stuff is all quite interesting.
Mm-hmm.
You and I were watching videos earlier of
Yeah.
stuff that was from gathered from around the world, things of surveillance camera stuff, people filming stuff. There's some things where you go, wow, if that's faked, that's like a really good fake, like they did a really good job putting that on and everything, because I don't know how they faked that. But it's very possible that it is faked, or we're seeing what we think we see or want to see. But on that note, I wonder, the one thing that I do wonder, and if this could have to do with ghosts and paranormal stuff, or it just could be something else entirely. But, as I said, it's not that I believe, it's just that I don't disbelieve. Because I think that there's so many things that we don't know what the hell is going on, and we don't have all the answers of everything. And, to me, things like being able to see and experience paranormal stuff, a lot of times I feel like there's a chance that it could have to do with your senses, because everything we know in the universe, everything we know is based on our five senses.
Right.
So you got to be able to see it and or touch it and or taste it
Or hear it.
or hear it or smell it, right? And my thing is this, it's like, well, how do we know that there's not a bunch of stuff around us, or there's other things that could be sensed, but we just are not equipped with those senses?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not just talking about, having a third eye or being like, psychic and stuff like that. Like, because I do wonder if there is some psychic ability out there. There have been some cases of it where I go, yeah, that's tough to disprove. This isn't just some guy that's really good at figuring this stuff out and makes $1 million off of touring around, telling people they're I'm talking to your relatives right now. I don't know that I believe in that shit, so much, but there is a chance. But what do you think about that? I mean, do you think that I'm off base, or do you, I wonder sometimes, because like, say for example, even in some of those videos we watched, when there were like supposed things, orb type things, or presence and things that were opening and shutting or moving that shouldn't have been, and you see just before it happens, or just as you see like the family dog in the video,
React to it,
or the
yeah.
cat, like all of a sudden like look up and then something moves. What do it makes me wonder if animals, because how would we know? There's no way for us to know.
Yeah, they always seem to react or sense something,
Mm-hmm.
or barking at walls or whatever. Like, what are you barking at? I don't understand.
Mm-hmm.
It's like they have something we don't.
Mm-hmm.
We don't possess.
Exactly.
To sense.
So you believe in that there's a possibility that's legit?
Yeah. Yeah, I think I can get behind that.
Yeah, now that doesn't necessarily mean that they can see ghosts.
No,
I don't know.
no.
But it does.
But they definitely can sense something's weird.
I think so.
Something's off.
Yeah, I think so.
If it's like electromagnetism where they can feel it, or vibrations, something
Right. Yeah,
that gives them the ability to sense it where we can't.
right.
We're not smart enough.
We just might not be evolved in that way.
Right.
I mean, that's what I'm saying. Our species, we like to think of ourselves as being like the pinnacle of evolution or something. I think all you got to do is look around at the stupid idiots you fucking deal with every day and realize that's not true.
That's not true.
But it makes me wonder if we did have that ability to do that would we be able to sense things, whether it's like sensing like auras or being able to see. I definitely lean towards believing more that there's other planes of like existence of some sort. And I don't necessarily know whether you go on to be like a spirit that can tell people your name through a spirit box and all that. I don't know about that. That seems a little weird and unreal to me. But I wonder if there isn't other like levels of, we think of everything in 3D, and is there a fourth dimension or a fifth dimension and all that kind of stuff where there's things that live outside our ability to see, taste, hear, smell it.
Mm-hmm.
Because, I mean, to sit there and say, well, I fucking don't believe it, it seems like bullshit. It's like, okay, but now imagine you're somebody, imagine there's some like island, right? And the indigenous people on that island have never encountered anybody else before from outside of that tribe. And imagine that for whatever reason, some genetic reason, that they are all born without the sense of smell, Or maybe when they're young, there's some kind of ritual that happens that they do, because some of these they do crazy rituals. They have different things to their, indigenous to their tribes, that it affects their sense of smell, and they don't have a sense of smell. Now imagine trying to explain to those people that have never smelled a smell before that smells exist. Can you imagine that? Like, think about that, being like, wait a minute. You're saying that thing right there that you just cooked and that I'm going to eat, you're telling me that has it has something that my nose inhales and I can tell the difference. It has what you call a scent, like it has a thing, like bullshit. It sounds made up, like I don't even fathom what you're talking about. Like that's ridiculous. I can touch it. I can see it, I can bite into it. I can, all these kind of things, I can hear it, but I don't have any sense of smell, like if you were, how would you explain that to them? Because there's no way to prove that. We just take it for granted because we go, oh yeah, of course, smell. Like everybody pretty much smells things, right? So what I'm saying is on that same level, if some other species came along, it always comes back to aliens with us on this channel. But if some other species came along and they were like, no, there's like 9 different senses. And there's being able to like see certain auras around people, if that it was a thing, or there's a way to be able to see or hear or sense certain things.
Betazoid, where they can feel your feelings.
Like empath, being able to feel things like that don't come from physical touch. You know, imagine them coming along and trying to like explain that to us, and we're just like, that's bullshit. Like, how? Like, how does that even work? Like, you know, and we're so quick to jump to that. But is it literally just because we're just not equipped for that? I mean, it's entirely within the realm of possibility. I'm not saying that it is necessarily like that's the answer. But
not the answer.
do you feel like, now drawing it back, kind of like, well, you know, I know we've been talking a long time, but like wrapping it up, do you feel like after your experience the other day when you went on this tour and you went through what you did and feeling what you did, do you feel like now maybe you're less skeptical, or you have more belief in like the presence of some other kind of other plane of existence, beings like that, ghosts, whatever, you know, spirits? Do you feel like, you know, because I know you were pretty skeptical before, and you're not a particularly like religious person or anything like that. Do you feel like you have more, like, has it changed you at all, or are you just sort of like, no, I'm still kind of, I'm blowing it off?
And again, I was skeptical of the event, of going in and actually finding something because I was going looking for it.
Right.
Okay. And having this equipment show this to me.
Right.
Okay. I wasn't skeptical so much of, could ghosts exist? Is there another plane of existence? Do we go somewhere where maybe not everybody goes? And stuff
Okay,
like
so
that.
you already kind of felt
so
like
I already
that
felt like there could be something like that. I don't know if there is, but there
Right.
could be. So I already felt like that. So I don't think it changed me.
But you don't feel like now, like whereas before you were just sort of like open-minded to the possibility, do you feel like now, since you actually experienced something firsthand, that it's like, oh wow, this might be legit?
I want to say no, because I think I'm still trying to rationalize it.
Yeah, that's very
I'm
typical.
still trying to
of you.
come to terms with it. So yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm not just going to believe. Because like, oh yeah, okay, yeah, sure.
Right.
Like, no, why did I react like that?
Right.
There's got to be a reason.
Right. Yeah, and that's what I want. That's why I'm asking, is because that's what I want people to understand at home. Because you know, you've heard us talk about all this stuff, and you've heard the clips from her phone and everything, and you know, I think the initial reaction of most people is probably going to be like, yeah, okay, sure, whatever, you know, like, you know, she was probably just, you know, either you were putting it on, or you were just being overly emotional that day or whatever. And it's like, this is not like, we're not doing this episode, or we're not sharing this stuff as a means of being like, see, believe us. It's not at all.
Just sharing what we've experienced. That's it.
Right.
That's it.
Yeah, just something to...
Just putting it out there.
What's funny is I feel like what happened to you makes me feel more like, huh, okay.
Really?
Yeah, because I haven't really experienced anything like that in a long time. Since, you know, it's been quite a while now since my friends and I, you know, everything, you know, again, I should knock on wood.
Yeah.
We haven't really experienced anything around here lately. I haven't gone through anything, and I haven't heard of anything else happening of that I could give any real credence to.
Mm.
And some people that I know that tell me, oh, I experienced this, I experienced that. In most cases, I'm like, okay, yeah, sure. You know, forgive me for not totally believing you, but, you know, I think you have the capability to exaggerate or misunderstand or whatever. Mm. But you, not so much. And like I said, and getting to hear you on that recording and everything, it's like, oh, huh, that's pretty fucked up. Like, that's, you know what I mean? Like, that's There's only a few people I know. Vito, our missing co-host, is another one. If Vito was all of a sudden like had some major change of character like that and everything,
Yeah.
right?
He's usually even Steven.
Right. Yeah, and he's just sort of like, yeah, okay, whatever.
It's all bullshit.
It's all bullshit. Right. So for him to like do something like that and be sincere about it is another thing that would make me go, whoa, like, okay, that's something to consider. So, yeah, I don't know. We would love to know. I know this. I hope you found this interesting. We were basically just talking about our own possible personal dealings, old and new, with paranormal things. But
The unexplained.
yeah, I hope you found it interesting. And more than anything, we wanted to put this out there because we're always looking for feedback. We'd love to hear your stories and your
Yes.
input on it. And even if you want to come back and be like, guys, I think your stories are, I think there's perfect explanations for everything you guys
Please
talked about on
tell
there.
me.
Yeah,
Please.
just tell us. We're not going to argue with you about it because we're not like super believers, you know what I mean, and all this kind of stuff. It's just it is what it is, and it's my experiences that I went through in this house, what you experienced at the jail in Crown Point and everything are just things that it's unexplained phenomenon, I don't
Phenomenon.
do. Boy, oh boy. So on that note, we hope that everybody has an awesome Halloween
Yes.
and Samhain and all the stuff that comes at this time of year. And let us know your thoughts.
Be safe out there.
Yeah, be careful, and we will talk to you soon. And if we get enough feedback, who knows, maybe we'll do a follow-up on this sometime.
Mm-hmm.
We love talking, especially me. I never shut up. I apologize for that. I should have let you talk more. But
I'm good.
all right, take it easy, everybody.
Bye, guys.